evening, good afternoon, and good morning, all you awesome people out there. My name is Scott Churchson, alongside Mr. Brandon Kaye, Jets proud right down there, and of course, Mr. JD Walker, Mets, and also I'll admit probably Jets proud as well. And this is the Sports Den on Zingo TV channel 249, 250. Kindly make sure to download the Zingo TV app on the app stores of iOS and Android. When you download, make sure to rate and leave a comment. Both apps are free. Zingo TV is lastly also available on Google Chromecast, Amazon Fire, Fire TV sticks, Roku sticks, and all smart TVs 2016 and forward. Gentlemen, how are we doing?
Stupendous. How are we doing?
You are Jets proud. You had a great win yesterday over the weekend on this. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about that. We're going to be talking a little bit about the Giants. We're going to talk some MLB today. We are also going to be talking about, and what I will be starting off with, what I've referred to as the Bucs involving themselves in a quote-unquote Saints row against New Orleans. It has ended with a suspension. Tom Brady basically had a quote-unquote dismissive gesture sent in his direction. So, Brandon, I know you have some opinions here. I am well aware of the fact that Tom Brady is far and away one of your favorite people on the planet. You have loved that man for nearly as long as you've been alive. He has been playing for basically in the league for almost as long as you've been alive. So you have some very different opinions about Mr. Brady and TB12.
At least as long as my conscious sports, life. So yeah, pretty much. There's a shrine back there in the corner. You can't see it; it's dark. But that's where my Tom Brady corner is.
Is that also where you poop?
Is that your garbage can?
Yeah, I was going to say. You think that's what a bathroom is back over there? But So in this case here, now in his third season with Tampa Bay, Marshawn Lattimore had a quote unquote dismissive gesture in his direction. Things got heated, things got violent, people got suspended, and give me some thoughts, sir.
I'm watching this game yesterday, and I saw this unfold. And at first, I was speechless for a second. But then I'm sitting back. I'm like, all right, first off, this is not the first time there's been some type of brawl in an NFL game. This isn't even this was more like a brouhaha, a kerfuffle. This wasn't even a brawl. This was just a minor spat. This first off, the interaction had kind of started a couple plays before. Lattimore was getting a little handsy, on these routes with receivers. We know how Tom Brady is. He's calling for, he wants those penalties thrown whenever he can get them. And I don't even blame him for that because, it was a situation where Tom Brady has never beat this team as a member of the Buccaneers. Yes, there are other things going on in Tom Brady's life that could be a little distracting. And it was just, he said something to Lattimore. Lattimore started it with him, and Tom Brady just got in his face. And you know what? Again, this is going to be one of the few times I flat out defend Brady. I love what he did. And he's very smart. If you watch, he does get into some of these minor, verbal disputes. But if you watch him, he has never come close to pushing or shoving. If anything, he is the one that gets shoved. So I do have to give him tons of credit to be able to kind of really control the anger while kind of, I don't want to say manipulating the situation to kind of get these players really riled up. But I did like Tom Brady getting in the face of Lattimore. And then we see Mike Evans come out like a bat out of hell from the sideline and just completely push Lattimore to the ground. And man, if I was saying before, if I had to get into a fight with anybody and I needed some athlete backups, I'm not sure Mike Evans wouldn't be my top pick right now. He would run through a wall for Tom Brady. And you know what? He got suspended for the game. Look, it's one game. It's very early in the season, so I don't think it's very impactful in that sense. But I like this. I don't think it's bad for the league. It's not great, but it is what it is. It happens. You're playing a violent sport. That's football. These two teams that have been chippy these last few years, especially since the arrival of Tom Brady, and we finally saw, the straw that kind of broke the camel's back, and these teams go at it. And man, all eyes are on the next matchup between these two teams because this was in New Orleans. So now we're going to get this rematch in Tampa Bay. I don't even know what the week is. I haven't looked at the schedule. But
Oh,
yeah, I thought this was nothing really in the grand scheme of things too much of a big deal. Mike Evans will get the 1 game suspension, and they probably won't miss a step. He'll come back the week after that, and I think the Bucs will be just fine.
And what's funny about this in this case here is this is obviously something that's been brewing for some time between these two teams. The passion in this case here, it is an obvious, very likely a 1-2 combination about first place, second place here. And like you said, these two teams are going to face each other fairly soon. My question is, do we have something here that might become a new NFL rivalry, akin to some of the other ones out there? Anything that's exists in the NFC East, some of the stuff in the AFC West. Will we see that kind of animosity, contempt, and hatred between these two? And you know what? Honestly, a new rivalry. Do we have that?
Well, they play each other again in week 13. I just looked it up. That's December 5th. Already a Monday Night Football matchup, so that's gonna be a good one. They don't even need to flex that one. They don't even need to flex that.
Yeah,
it's already in prime time. So good on them for actually putting what should be a great matchup on Monday Night Football, depending on how these teams do over the next 2 months. But
that could be the highest watched Monday Night Football game this season.
It could be.
Just a prediction. It could be.
It's possible. I mean, if these teams both have a losing record at the time, it may not be. So we shall see. But a lot needs to happen between now and then.
Here's a weird thing. Go ahead, sorry.
I was just going to say that there's been bad blood between Lattimore and Fournette going back several years now. It seems similar to me to
even Mike Evans, the two of them.
Yeah, Evans is Lattimore is he's a very chirpy defensive back. Similar to the bad blood between I'm blanking on his name. I think it was Josh Gordon with Washington a few years ago, and OBJ.
And Josh Norman.
Josh Norman, yeah. With Norman and Beckham a few years ago, and how that just kept escalating. It seems to be similar rivalry here between the individual players. Brady being involved.
Sherman and Crabtree. Remember Sherman and Crabtree from a few
Sherman and Crabtree, yeah. It looks like a similar type of bad blood in the heat of competition between players that genuinely don't like each other. And that is good for the game. What is not good is Evans coming in like a heat-seeking missile to just start to escalate it in the way that he did. And something that wasn't really mentioned in a lot of places is that in the video of the incident, you can clearly see Evans run to the sidelines and Bruce Arians say something to Evans, and then he just runs right back into the middle of things and just starts messing things up. There's 2 things I want to know. A, why is Bruce Arians, after his retirement, still on the sidelines? B, what did he say to Mike Evans to instigate this? I don't know if that's in any of the NFL film sound, and if it is, they're probably deleting it because they don't want that out there. But this is just...
No, that is an excellent point. I hadn't heard anybody on any of these TV or radio stations really mention that.
Yeah, that was the first thing I noticed in the clip. I said it was because I saw a headline somewhere saying something about Arians' involvement in this incident, but I didn't have a chance to read it at the time. But once I saw the video clip later, I said, "Oh, Arians did say something to Evans that just just like it's almost like just letting go of the attack dog, like, oh, go sick him."
I was going to say, it's one of the dogs. There's a cat in the backyard.
Yeah. So I think there's more to that. The Bucs have been talked about more for off the field or between plays garbage than they have on the field in the 2 games so far this year.
Well,
and I don't know if, and just the league, loves these kinds of storylines, even if they don't want to admit it, especially since it reminded me of like the baseball bench clearing brawls where somebody, flips a bat too much or, swings on a full count if they're up by too many runs, and then the other team gets their panties in a bunch, and then a bench clearing brawl starts, and that's the only sport where this is okay.
Or you're the Mets and you're playing dodgeball out there,
right? And
just move in front of baseballs. Yeah,
just all this stuff is stupid. I think Evans should be suspended for more than one game for this. I think there's going to be more fines coming out for this once the league office reviews it. I'm sure there'll be more fines and suspensions coming. Maybe not suspensions, but I wouldn't be surprised if Bruce Arians gets fined. I still want to know why he's on the sidelines to begin with, let alone what he said. I mean, if he had to retire, which we all know was just Brady saying, "Yeah, I don't want to play for him anymore," and then the Glazers just, they came up with the retirement story.
Retired, so it's all interpreted anyway.
It's the same kind of deal. Like there was a lot of, I think there was some Sonny Corleone memes that the internet came up with at the time for that Brady clearly, had Bruce Arians take a long walk on a short pier as the Bucs coach. But this is dumb, and more stuff that wherever Voldemort goes, all this extra off the field garbage follows. Whatever's going on in his marriage or may or may not be, I don't care. I'm tired. Just go away.
There's another rivalry also: Tom Brady versus electronic equipment
versus Microsoft.
Yeah, I was going to say against Microsoft specifically. Clearly an Apple fan, or maybe Linux. I'll give him a little Tux the Penguin on that one. But basically another tablet gets destroyed in a fit of rage. So he probably will get a fine on that. But with his amount of money, honestly, the tablet doesn't even count as money to him.
Well, we don't know how much money he'll have soon.
That's true. Jeff Bezos got taken.
Is there a prenup, or is there was some? I don't know. What I do want to say this though. I think there are some, to maybe a smallish large group of people in league offices that like this.
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
but America loved when MJ would do what he did, right?
Mm-hmm.
We loved when all these guys had kind of these moments where it was not out of character, but like it was such a culmination of the greatness that they have and what is expected, and just the moment, wanting to overcome the moment. Like I'm like, again, we're talking about it. Everybody's talking about it. This sets up the next game for all eyes on that game, even regardless of the records of these two teams. Look, I mean, do we really the Saints possibly just because of quarterback play and just just the way the Saints are. I find it hard to believe that the Bucs would have somewhat of a losing record or not be in the thick of things from week 13. So yeah, of course there are some people that don't like this, but I think there are a lot of people in the league offices that at least don't mind that this happened.
Yeah.
Any press is good press, and that's the mentality.
Yeah.
There's definitely an any publicity is good publicity vibe to this, to a point, and it also takes away from the much worse publicity that the NFL has had over the past few months from various issues, starting from the owners all the way down. So I absolutely agree that there's definitely a contingent in the league office that is fine with this, because the more that they talk about stuff like this, they're not talking about Deshaun Watson or Stephen Ross or any of the other bad behavior that's been going on. So yes, I think that they're definitely okay with this.
And also, I think, not to be understated, I believe this was the last team that Tom Brady had never defeated until over the weekend, right?
No, he never beat them as a member of the Bucks. He's beaten them in New England.
Yes.
But since
okay,
he was 0-4.
He's 0-4 though. He was 0-4.
Right.
Okay, but that was a member of the Bucks then. Okay, that makes sense. All right,
Mhm.
because there was one team out there that
but
he
actually, he did beat them in the playoffs though. So
okay,
Yes.
there was the playoff game, so it's not completely dismissed that he never beat the Saints in Tampa. He did when it counted. So
fair enough, and they won the Super Bowl. So, which honestly,
Yes.
it doesn't matter if Arians goes off into it goes off into the distance on that and journeys into the West. In his case, they still got a Super Bowl, the two of them. He's enshrined there, so it doesn't really matter. Speaking of, since we're going to be talking basically in this case here, and I know it's going to make a certain person very happy, the New York Jets get their first win over the weekend on the road against the Cleveland Browns, and Flacco, 4 touchdowns, no picks.
Oh, the whole game, it was like, all right, typical Jets. Like they had a couple plays where it's like, oh, that's great, but then it never materialized and stuff like that. But hey, I mean, that fourth quarter, that really, I don't know, something clicked, something gelled. They were like, you know what? We're just sick and tired. Even all the rookies and the new person, we're just sick of losing. We're done.
Mm-hmm.
And Flacco, again, we can say what we want about Joe Flacco and it being old, and obviously he's not the future, right? But in a situation like this, you can't tell me with a straight face that Flacco's experience and everything was so key to that drive that, again, I don't know if Zach Wilson or Sam Darnold or Mike effing White or any of these guys would have done. So
they wouldn't have.
Right. So that part is you can't argue that. And again, Flacco is a placeholder. We want to make sure Zach is fully healthy. We'll get him back. But man, we got some guys on this team that can ball. We really do. And we said this last week. Look, like the talent is there and everything. Now it's pretty much a coaching and a play calling situation. And I don't know. This started to gel in the fourth quarter, and I really hope this can continue. And you know what? I was thinking about this all day. Next week, the Bengals come to MetLife to play the Jets. The Jets will win this game by at least a touchdown.
Really? Okay.
I think to kind of steer this to another topic with Burrow and if they get after Burrow, that's going to be a long day. I mean, he's been sacked 100 times already.
Yeah.
I don't know, man.
That's one of the concerns that I had. I mean, in this case here, that defense gave up a lot. Chubb got 3 touchdowns. They only stopped basically 4 out of 12 on third down. The Browns succeeded and just thrust it on third down. Is that a concern of yours in this case here, or do you think it's more of just the Browns and Bissett and Chubb being what they are?
I'm concerned because even the Browns outjets the Jets in this game. Let's be frank here. The Browns straight up gave the Jets the game, and the Jets, to their credit, finally took it. Because how many times have we seen over the years where a team tries to hand the Jets the game and then the Jets manage to screw it up worse and end up losing anyway? That's happened more times than I can count. So credit to the Jets and Joe Flacco for finally doing that. However, for the fact that I'm still waiting to see this vaunted defensive front from the supposed genius coach, all talk, no results, as I like to call him. He's Rex Ryan without the success, as far as I'm concerned.
Hair.
Yeah, Rex Ryan with no hair and no success. So I'm not going to get excited over a win over the Browns, who just might be one of the only teams that is more dysfunctional of an organization than the Jets are. I as soon as I saw their schedule, I said they start 1-4. They might have a chance of beating the Browns. And to their credit, they ended up doing that. Now, the Bengals are in big trouble for the fact that despite all the work that they did with the offensive line in the offseason, Burrow is still getting his brains beat out, at a record-setting clip. And I hope he doesn't get hurt again. If that disarray continues, the Jets defense is good enough and is improved over last year that I think that they do have a chance. I'm certainly not going to guarantee a win like Brandon is, but I think that they do have a chance with the Bengals having the problems that they have. I am, as usual, about the Jets skeptical that they can bring this to any kind of positive momentum, but it is possible. And I think that, and I wholeheartly agree that Flacco made this comeback and got everything done, and Zach Wilson would not have. And I wait with bated breath for Zach Wilson to come back and to see if he actually does anything, or if it's just going to be more inconsistent play like last year, and injuries will be used as an excuse again to cover up the fact that he's just not that good, and that he only got to the number 2 pick by playing at BYU and beating up a bunch of scrubs.
Now, here's a question. Now, Zach Wilson's out
to that point, though, he's playing with the same level of players. Like look at Josh Allen or like a Carson Wentz. They play at these, FCS, like D2 schools, and you go, oh, they're not playing against any real competition, but they're playing with the same level of, like, on their team. So I don't always like that type of a point. I know what you're saying. I do. But yeah, I maybe it's naive, but I'm hopeful. I really am. I don't know. I really think that if they're smart enough to just be like, look, Garrett Wilson is your number 1 receiver. That's it. And the defense and everything. And look, you mix up the play calling. Just you continue, like, do what you think does, like, you do what you do well, right? Like, why don't change it up because of another team. Like, I understand you game plan and you plan for certain teams a certain way, but from an offensive standpoint, you have to do what you think you do well. And I really hope this can continue. Look, the Bengals defense is good. They're not world beaters, right? And I really think, like, this Browns team, like, to back to your point, JD, with they're as dysfunctional as the Jets. Yeah, but they've been a better team lately over the last few years. They've been to the playoffs, won a playoff game, and they have right now, I would still say a better roster top to bottom. And they just out Jets the Jets in terms of situational football. So I really, again, maybe this is like some of my Mets, pride and confidence in that kind of spilling into my Jets.
Bravado works, by the way.
Yeah, kind of spilling into my Jets vault of confidence here. You know what? I'm guaranteeing a win by a touchdown, sticking to my guns, and I got to roll with my team. That's it.
All right, so suppose this for a second. Zach Wilson's going to be out for another 2 to 3 weeks at this point. Now, Joe Flacco, he impresses again. He has another performance like this against the Bengals, and suddenly the team is 3-1 or 4-1, and Zach Wilson comes back. A, what do you do? And B, what do you think they do?
I think Flacco gets an injury at some point, whether real or fake, in order to go back to Wilson. They may ride with him for a few weeks after that, but I still think that through one way or another, they will make sure that Wilson gets back on the field this year. They have too much invested in him. I think that that's a similar reason why they're too chicken to play Mike White again, because of what I said. Especially last season, all of the other Jets quarterbacks played better in the same offense than Zach Wilson did. Even Josh Johnson, who's played with 8 million teams over the past 15 years in 4 or 5 leagues. So I think that they should stay with Flacco in that case, but do I think they will? No.
Brandon?
Yeah, I'm leaning towards the same way, but there's something about a flow and a momentum that I sometimes don't like interrupting.
Yeah.
If it's to naturally kind of fall, he throws 2 picks or whatever, and they're down by 16, 17 at halftime already. Of course, I don't know. Maybe it's really tough, but they're going to put Zach in. But and we'll see. Look, and then they can always be like, hey, if he's crappy, we'll go to Mike White or Joe Flacco again. So it's they could really kind of fall into the same situation that they did last year. But it's right now, of course, right now for the next 2 to 3 weeks for sure. You roll with Flacco, but and last week he played well. They didn't play bad last week. So he's had a good start to this season. And with these young kids now and hopefully another year under this playbook and this coaching staff, you ride it till he's fully healthy. That's it.
All right. So remains to be seen. But Brandon, very, very ballsy prediction on your side. I respect it. That will be going up on the channel. So basically you're going to either look great or we've had videos where basically we badly predicted and got trolled for it. It might be one of those too. We're going to find out.
Yeah.
Win by a touchdown.
Yeah, by a touchdown too. So
by a touchdown. Yep.
Respect.
That's the full stipulation.
See.
Yep. I can't just be like, oh, they won by no. I want a full touchdown.
So basically,
we'll see if this ends up right next to our Gonzaga video. Okay.
Yes.
We'll see what happens.
Yes.
Exactly.
And our Duke Carolina reaction video.
On the other side of the fence, on the other side, the conference right now, we also have crap. If I can actually pull it, there we go. The Giants,
New York team.
Yeah, that other New York team, Gang Blue, we'll call it. The Giants improved to 2-0. It was ugly, but an ugly win is always better than a pretty loss. They had a chance to really, really open this up. Carolina had 2 turnovers right in the beginning that were only turned into field goals. It required a Graham Gano 56-yarder to get the lead on this. But you know what? It's a win. They're 2-0. And right now, Max Kellerman has already come out and said that the Giants are going to make the playoffs this year. I'm not sold on that right now, but by God, I think it's at least something that a conversation could happen by week 15, 16. Daniel Jones went 22 for 34, 176 yards, 1 touchdown. Frankly, just very mundane numbers. This was a defense-run team in this case. This is a defensive win. This was not something pretty on his side of it. Saquon only had 72 yards. They stopped him until the fourth quarter. But the Giants' defense has actually done a really good job. And at the same time, now the Baker Mayfield is now 0-2 with his new team. And he had a very, very poor performance yesterday.
The Panthers are not exactly Super Bowl material. I was more impressed with the win over Tennessee last week. But for them to keep this up at home and beat a team that is, let's be honest, the Panthers are not very good, and I think Matt Rule might be the first coach fired this year. If this doesn't
I know it too. It's very possible, sure.
So and the whole Baker Mayfield versus Sam Darnold controversy with Ben McAdoo as their offensive coordinator.
I'm sorry, Brent, who is it?
Ben McAdoofus.
There you go. Thank you. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, so this isn't exactly vintage Patriots that the Giants were playing this weekend, but it still got good on them to do what they needed to do. Impressive showing by the defense. Oh, hey, look, Dallas on Monday Night Football next week.
Yep.
That is where you make the statement, especially with the Cowboys being the
Cooper Rush
mess that they are.
Yeah.
So that is where the fun begins. And
is that a home game? Is that
no? They're on the road. They're in Dallas for that one.
No, they're home.
Yes, you're correct. I'm sorry, I read that wrong.
Yeah, it's Dallas at home Monday Night Football, then Chicago at home, then at Green Bay.
So just to be clear,
wait, is that a London game?
What's that?
Because I just saw Green Bay. Yeah, that Green Bay game is in London.
I hate the fact that they've got like multiple games on Monday night. Week 2.
Yeah, I don't like that either.
Yeah, I don't get it.
And they're at the same time, basically.
Yeah, they're overlapping. And the funny thing is, actually, with those two on Monday, you had one on ESPN and one on ABC. So it's not like you had competing networks here. You were under the same Disney umbrella, and you're still fighting each other here. I don't get it. It makes no sense to me. I don't follow it. But what I found interesting, and this really, really, really surprised me when I caught the first game the other day, I did not hate Joe Buck as much. It's weird, but for some reason, his personality seems to gel better with ESPN. I don't get it. But he does, he used to piss me off royally. I used to hate it. I used to hate listening to him. I dislike listening to him now, but I don't hate listening to him now. And it's weird. Maybe because he went to ESPN and it has a different vibe to it, a different energy. I don't get it.
It's been one game so far, but I see what you mean about how it seems to be a better fit. Although it is weird after hearing Joe Buck on Fox for so long in baseball and football, going to ESPN now. It is strange, but it is kind of a better fit. But also, the bar is very low with some of the awful groups that ESPN has had on Monday Night Football in recent years. So it does bring an element of stability, which is why they paid a boatload of money in order to get him. I heard similar feelings in some of the chatter over Thursday Night Football on Amazon Prime, and how weird it was to hear Kirk Herbstreit on NFL games and not college.
Yeah, and I will say this: hearing Joe Davis, who I guess is the new lead Fox guy. I don't know who's going to be doing Super Bowl when the time comes, but I guess Joe Davis and Daryl Johnston, Moose Johnson, are the two Game of the Week guys for a Fox now.
I thought it was supposed to be Burkhardt and Olsen.
I don't know. I'm not sure because we'll have to see. Because next week the game of the week I think is it's Patriots and Packers. So we'll have to see whoever handles that one. But whoever that is your new Fox Super Bowl guys. Something drastic changes. So frankly, that's a good thing there. You may very well never hear for at least for a few years Joe Buck and Troy Aikman do a Super Bowl ever again. So strange in some ways.
ABC is back in the Super Bowl rotation as part of the new contract, so they will be getting. I think it's 4 years from now. They will be getting.
Okay,
the Super Bowl.
So
so it'll be a while.
So it'll be a ABC kind of thing, Now with that Monday night game, basically, like you talked about, it's the Giants who Joe Buck hates versus the Cowboys, where Troy Aikman played his entire career on Monday night. How do you think
the Giants fans whining about Joe Buck?
Basically, yeah. They still haven't him for Super Bowl 42. The helmet catch was just caught by Tyreek.
Yeah,
I listened to something. I watched something this morning. It was like the longest field goals in history, and I forget who it was. Elam, I think, knocked in a 63-yarder at halftime. And it bounced off the crossbar and in. And you listen to Joe Buck; it had all of the energy and passion of someone picking up their dry cleaning. Right after that was Sebastian Janikowski on a Monday night, and whoever is doing it for ESPN credit had vibrancy and energy and excitement and referred to it as now he's only 3 people that have actually kicked from 63 yards. It's a very short list for a very long kick. And whoever said that on ESPN was great. But I don't know, maybe just Joe Buck on ESPN has, works better because ESPN just has a different vibe. And I'm going to go off on one final rant. There's no more Booger Mobile. So you don't have that little Pope bubble car running around blocking fans' view as they actually pay $500 a ticket. God, I hated that friggin' thing, man. And ESPN's like, well, it's giving the home fan, the television audience a chance to actually watch this and enjoy the experience. Yeah, but the fans that paid $300 to $500 a ticket can't see the damn game.
I think the NFL might be the only sport where it's better to watch on TV than it is in the stadium.
Oh God, yeah. I think actually, truth be told, I kind of prefer to watch most sports, soccer notwithstanding. And JD, I think you get this one. Soccer continues that way. Baseball in a stadium is kind of Dullsville. It gets a little tiresome. Who knows what's going to happen?
Because you're always going to Yankee Stadium.
Hey, I went to Rock and Boulder, so. But yeah. And yeah, that's a good point. I know you love the golf clap there.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't like the couch toilet whenever I want it. So,
soccer different. Baseball is best consumed on the radio, which another thing I found out this weekend from my trip up to Central Jersey and driving home was that sometimes old technology is the best technology. Good old AM radio actually, I get the CBS 880 signal all the way down here in south of Philly. So I said, oh, I can listen to Howie Roseman Mets games again. Wow, I wasn't expecting it because my old place, which was much closer to New York, I had issues picking up a signal. So it never even occurred to me to try it. I said, I was listening to the Jets game. The signal faded out on the turnpike around Hightstown and Trenton like it normally does. So I said, you know what? Let me try flipping over to the Mets game and see how. I know AM signal goes longer. Let me see how long it goes. And I made it all the way home. And I tried another radio in my house and was able to get it to work. So nice. That's one of those things that probably excites only geeks like me. But it's just there's a lot to be said for that. Baseball is better on the radio than it is on TV or in the stadium. Football is best to watch on TV, not in the stadium. Basketball, hockey, and soccer for sure are much better in person, and TV doesn't always do them justice.
Probably right. Fair point. Mm-hmm. So, all right. So a couple more things I want to go up on the football side of things. You know what? We're going to start with this one first because, truth be told, it really kind of sucks. I am by no means, in this case, a 49er fan, but Trey Lance is out for the season, and it sucks. Curiously enough, the whole decision, do we trade Garoppolo, do we not, suddenly makes a lot more sense that they kept him. But Lance is out, with an ankle injury for the rest of the year. And I feel kind of bad for those guys.
I saw a comparison online today that of how the Shanahan family has absolutely screwed the pooch with quarterbacks and comparing what Kyle Shanahan has done with how they've messed up the development of Trey Lance compared to what his dad did with RG3 in Washington. And that's a damning comparison, but there definitely are some parallels there, especially with it seems like the play calling for a quarterback that has had one healthy season in the past 5 years. Why do you keep running in quarterback draws up the middle? So that was an accident waiting to happen, and unfortunately, it happened in week 2 for Trey Lance. But just that's brutal for him. It'll be interesting to see what Garoppolo does, and then what the 49ers do in the offseason. Just that is, I feel for this guy. I thought I had him as a backup in our fantasy league. I had him as my starter in Kyle's league, so I'm completely done there for the week. But I really feel bad for the guy. And as we mentioned Zach Wilson before, that quarterback class from last year is off to a brutal start over 2 years. Yep. I mean, Trevor Lawrence, we'll see.
Trevor's playing very well.
Trevor is playing much better.
I know. There's something percolating down in Jacksonville, I think.
Yeah. Now that they've got this, now that they've finally washed off the stench of Urban Meyer, we'll see. There's hope still for Trevor Lawrence, but everybody else, Wilson, Lance, now being injured. Fields has been garbage in Chicago. There's somebody else I'm forgetting.
No, I didn't play up particularly well last night, Fields.
Yeah, and then you have Davis Mills from the 3rd round, who might be the best one not named Trevor Lawrence so far, oddly enough. So between injuries and ineffectiveness, it is not exactly looking like a world-beating group, that class of quarterbacks from the 2021 draft. And I really feel for Trey Lance for these injury issues.
And we'll see and we'll see what happens this second year with Mac Jones.
Mac Jones, that was the one I was forgetting.
Yep. That's the other guy, yeah. Mm-hmm. But I don't know how you feel about this, but Kyler Murray got clocked in Vegas. What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, or apparently not, because police are currently investigating it. I don't think this is going to be much. I don't think this is going to be much to do about anything, frankly. But Any thoughts if you got him?
Out of all the things that happen in Vegas, this is what the police are focusing on?
More or less everything else is legal there.
So you guys know that I am very quick to jump on fan consequences, right? Like we saw spitting on Trey Young at the Garden, the issue in Philly with popcorn and other issues. I'm the ban for life. I don't want them at any other stadium. However, this was Kyler's fault. And this really is much ado about nothing, because every video, every angle that I've seen, the best one is the cameraman right behind him, who follows him, and Kyler goes up to the sideline there, dapping up some Cardinals fans, and it's supposedly there's a guy in a gray shirt, and I tried to go with the scroll bar very slowly to try and watch it in slow motion. And the hand comes down. It did not go across left to right, right to left. Now, if you were to slap somebody, Will Smith, your first thought is across the face, not down. When I think down, you're trying to pat the shoulder pads, good job,
pat on the back.
Right. So I think Kyler accidentally just got grazed in the face, or if it was really hit, whatever, accidentally hit in the face, and he was kind of being a baby about it. Right after it happened, he was went up to trying to look for the fan, and I really don't think it was anything with real malicious intent. I just think this kind of was an accident. I think if Kyler just ran off, this wouldn't have been mentioned at all. It's the fact that Kyler went back to the sideline with his chest out trying to find the guy who did it. I think that made it worse. But again, Kyler, this was kind of your fault, dude. You go up to the sidelines, or behind the end zone in this case, on the road. Look, of course you shouldn't be punched or slapped, purposefully slapped in the face, right? But if something happens that kind of seems accidental, and you happen to get that's kind of it's kind of a hazard. What's the hazard? Habitual hazard or whatever. That's what happens.
Yeah.
It's kind of
occupational hazard. If you don't want to get if you don't want to possibly have anything happen in an interaction with fans, don't run out to the sidelines and jump and interact with the crowd then.
Yeah, I really think this was, and for the police to get involved, it's I don't know. I don't really think this was anything. So yeah, I'm usually the first fan. Get him out of here. I'm never again at this stadium. But I don't think that was the case here.
There's enough fan stupidity lately, and I don't condone any of this behavior. And I wholeheartedly agree that anybody who does something like spit on players or dump beer or popcorn or say racist or other terrible over the top things to players, they absolutely should be tossed and banned. And why would you spend that amount of money on tickets to act that stupid? I don't understand that. Having said that, if this was just an accident, or if there's a whole crunch of people, he could have been going up for a high five and somebody jumped on him, so his hand went accidentally hit him in the face or whatever.
They're all pushing and shoving each other there.
Right. I haven't seen the video myself, but if it is like that as you described, then it probably is an accident, and police need to focus on more important things, and Murray needs to get over it. And if Murray doesn't want this, then don't interact with the crowd.
Yeah, on the road, come on.
Yeah, I think this will be resolved behind the scenes. We'll never probably hear what ends up happening, but they'll move on.
Yeah, I don't want to hear anything about this.
Yeah.
Oh, did we get a Scott?
Okay,
I'll get on with it.
Didn't Call of Duty just come out? He's busy playing Call of Duty. Go,
Yeah.
So
Get
He's
that.
got other things to worry about.
Yeah, he needs to rack up those study hours.
Dude, I have never.
What a joke.
Dude, I've never played Call of Duty in my life. I wouldn't understand a damn thing. All right, so figure if it's cool with you. The MLB down the stretch. The Mets are making it interesting. They're getting close. Division, which they better if they're going to have a shot in Hiffle against that team out in there. But do you think, first of all, be able to actually get to win that division, get the bye?
It comes down to that last series in Atlanta. I mean, they just did a 4-game sweep and still didn't gain any grounds on Atlanta. Go figure. The one time I actually want the Phillies to help, they don't. So the heck with them.
They still have another chance in a few days.
Yeah,
the Mets have easier
this weekend.
Your schedule though down the stretch. So
the Braves have a pretty easy schedule too, though. So they both have easy schedules playing against teams that. Yeah, so it's going to come down to the wire. I do think that something I saw over the past few days, concerning issue with the Mets, is that they leave too many runners on base. They can get away with it against Pittsburgh, and they didn't get away with it against Chicago, but they get away with it against Pittsburgh. They need to stop that if they're going to go make any noise in the playoffs or even beat Atlanta to get that division. So, I mean, good that they're working through their slump now. Hopefully they snap out of it and then are focused for October. I'm hopeful, but cautiously hopeful that the Mets will get it done, but they are clearly not making it easy, and Atlanta is not making it easy in the slightest.
The fact that the Braves have 4 games in Philadelphia. Philly is still playing, trying to set up for the October. The Mets, they have a 3-game stretch out, but it's in Oakland, which, by the way, we can talk about the new rules and security measures that they have in Oakland after some people were involved in adult behavior, shall we say, that caught on camera.
I missed that one. What else is there to do at an A's game?
Short version. Guy and a girl, and he was friendly with his genitalia.
And they were way up. They were way up. No, to be fair, they were way up. Nobody was around.
They're placing security,
which makes it
to
worse.
monitor to make sure that this doesn't happen again. But overall, the Mets, I think, have a slightly easier schedule. They got Atlanta. Then they're home for 2 against the Marlins. They have the 3 against the Braves, but then they're home for the final 3 against the Nats. The only difference here, right, that I look at is the Braves have 4 games on the road against Philly. And then after that, they got a couple of games against the Nats on the road also. So a lot of their schedule is road, including the Marlins. Their last home games that they have are against the Mets, but a lot of road games in there. So I think the Mets have a slightly easier schedule. I think they've got a little bit of an easier chance to be able to actually clinch that division, because that 1 week, that few days of bye is going to be absolutely massive there to give them.
Well, they have Milwaukee tonight, tomorrow, Wednesday, and then they go out to Oakland, come for the baseball game, stay for the orgy, apparently over there, or maybe the other way around, But
the orgy is probably more entertaining than watching the A's at this point.
Honestly, no, I really feel like that.
It's like a history of the world orgy.
Yeah, honestly, maybe from a Braves perspective, I might argue that this upcoming Phillies series might be more important than the Mets series, just because of how the rest, But they're both. No, I really do think it's going to come down to that final series, and you only have to win the division by a half game. That's or if you have the tiebreaker, which I don't try. I have to look. I don't think they do, but
I think the tiebreaker is also decided in the final series.
Okay, yeah. So am I right? So I think with the even number of games in that sense. So as small as it is, the Mets are still in their control your own fate mode. They have virtually no room for error because of what the Braves just continue to do. Like, I mean, look, you do what you're doing, but like you can't control what Atlanta's doing. Like just hats off to them and just play. And you really just try and beat them. And I think they'll be all right. I of course this kind of slump is not great, but they're starting to come out of it. Look, Pittsburgh did not play they were so sloppy in the field. Nobody. I mean, the last game they had 20 strikeouts. I mean, come on, they weren't doing anything offensively against the Mets. So it was a good time for the Mets just to kind of get out of their slump. And you go up against the former or the defending NL Cy Young in Woodruff tonight. So, you go to Milwaukee, you go to Oakland, you take care of business the rest of the year. In Atlanta, I think they're going to be all right. I mean, look, Tomasino looking like Mike Piazza out there. He can't stop hitting. So, I think they're all – and Escobar starting to hit, or continuing to hit well again. He was great in the beginning, not great in the middle of the season, but he's picked it up. We'll get – we still don't – Marte is not in the lineup. Let's not forget that. We'll get Scherzer back tonight. He pitches. I really think with any struggles, slumps, reacquisition of players, Tyler McGill should be coming back this series. I think the Mets are going to be okay, but they, like I said, virtually zero room for error.
I agree. The Mets can do it, and they should do it, but they need to snap out of this funk. They were in a big hitting slump for a while. The hitting is coming back, but they're still leaving too many runners on base. If the pitching and the hitting do what they're supposed to do and what they've been doing for most of the season, the Mets will be fine. But the Braves are right there with them, so there is no margin for error whatsoever.
And that's even with Matt Olson, who's struggling, who can't hit anything now.
Yeah. One other quick story I just thought of regarding all the other Oakland activities. In Rogers Center in Toronto, there is a hotel overlooking that is inside the stadium and overlooking the field. That now has more mirrored glass because there were a few incidents over the years where people were doing things in the hotel rooms with the shades clearly open and you could see everything on TV. So wouldn't be the first time that. So regarding the Oakland incidents, it's not the first time that's happened in Major League Baseball.
But I just find it funny that they're posting security now to monitor this. Is that right, gentlemen? Got a meeting right here. As you may know, there's been rampant amount of fellatio on the stands because nobody's actually here.
Watch your hands.
We're gonna basically. You guys sit there and you need to look for any sexual activity that's going on. It's part of the job description. You guys got this. And it's like, what the hell kind of meeting could that have possibly been to say, okay, this is what you guys have to do now?
Yeah, I would have loved to be a fly on the wall in that meeting, just sitting around the table.
Jesus.
All right. We got a real problem on our hands.
This is the same stadium that had the black hole with the Raiders fans for decades. So if anybody can, if there's any security guards in the league that could handle crazy stuff, it would be them.
Got a real problem with these really horny baseball fans, and we just can't contain them. We got to throw security.
Exactly. So, what happens in Oakland stays in Oakland. What happens in Toronto stays in Toronto, apparently. All right, gentlemen.
I guess Moneyball is still a thing.
Moneyball is more like
it. No, gentlemen, I think we're going to call it right here. Thank you as always. I appreciate it. This, like I said, this is part of the Spanglish World Network. Zingo TV, channel 249 and 250. Thank you as always, Brandon. Thank you as always, JD. Appreciate it. You guys are awesome. Let us know in the comments anything you want us to cover, thoughts, ideas, compliments, or complaints. Let's run with it. Let's talk about it. And as always, take care. Stay awesome.